Targo. Transfer window closes 3 p.m. Pacific on the 31st, so let's discuss what teams need before the transfer window closes and what players we think will fit best for these squads. Alphabetical order, Arsenal. They need a midfielder.
They do. They definitely need a, kind of cover for Thomas Partey, someone in that midfield. I don't know who they can get here before this transfer window closes is the big question. I don't think there's a lot available out there where you're not going to overpay. Obviously, they've been linked with Declan Rice, who I think would be a fantastic signing. I don't think they get him in January.
No.
I know they've been looking at Moises Caicedo, but honestly, I think a good pickup would be Amadou Onana from Everton.
Yeah.
I think he could be a good pickup. I think Ruben Neves could also be a good pickup from Wolves.
Yeah, and they've been linked with him for what seems like forever.
But one that I think might go under the radar would be that Ryan Gravenberch. He's at Bayern Munich. They bought him from Ajax, but I think they could get him on loan to provide good cover. He impressed me when I watched him with Ajax.
Yeah.
He's not getting a whole lot of playing time at Bayern Munich. He's only 20 years old. So I think he could be a good one for Arsenal to get here before the transfer window closes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, with all of those that you mentioned, all of them being 25 and under, you're kind of looking at, the next replacements for Xhaka and Partey at this point that can also provide adequate cover right now with, Xhaka's, 29, 30? And
something like that.
Partey is 30 going on 31. So they don't have many years left. You want some depth in midfield. Sambi Lokonga is not going to do it, and El Nini seems to be hurt when you need him most. I think Moises Caicedo, to me, is the best option. They're going to have to overpay for anybody that they get at this point. Just because they're in first, everybody knows that. They need another midfielder, everybody knows that, so their demands are going to go higher and higher. I think Arsenal finally get one over on Chelsea and pull out this Moises Caicedo deal, whether it be, with the remainder of that Mudryk money. But I think Caicedo and Declan Rice as backups for Xhaka and Partey, eventually overtaking them. That sets up that midfield for years to come.
I think another good signing would be that midfielder from Real Sociedad.
Martin Zubamendi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'd be another good one.
He came out publicly and said he's not leaving this season. It wouldn't be till the summer. So he would be a great signing, especially if you can't get like a Declan Rice and he decides to go to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And he'd be much cheaper. It's not going to be 70, 80 million for a Declan Rice. But Caicedo probably will be in that ballpark at
I don't think he's worth that much.
21 years old, but
I'd rather take a Declan Rice over Caicedo.
Personally, I think they're going to go for both. I don't think this changes their summer transfer window at all, especially getting back into the Champions League and potentially winning the league. That's a lot of money they're going to get to be able to put towards players. So, all right, enough talk about our beloved Arsenal. Let's get on to other clubs. Aston Villa. Man, do they need a center back at this point.
Well, they got some coming back from injury, which I think will help. Ogbonna's coming back. Kurt Zuma's coming back. But yeah, before that, they were hurting.
Struggling. I think a guy who's been linked to the Premier League for what seems like forever, and mostly teams like Tottenham and Manchester United, is Pau Torres for Villarreal. He's not getting any younger, but he's playing consistently just as good. I think this fits right in Unai Emery's breadbasket of signing Spanish players, especially one that used to play for him. I think he's a perfect fit.
What's funny is I went with his center back partner, Juan Foyth, who also plays for Villarreal, but he's got some Premier League experience, which I think is good. He played at Tottenham. And, he's 25 years old, so he's a little bit younger than Pau Torres. So I thought he'd be a good fit.
Either way, center backs from Villarreal right now are probably the best fit for Unai Emery because he knows them and knows how they play. So
yeah.
All right, next up we got Bournemouth. I think they need a center midfielder.
Yeah.
I think a guy who's been linked to the top clubs in the Premier League for a while, but has just become a bench player for Lyon at this point, Hassim Aouar. He's only going to cost you $12 million at this point, which is far and wide from the 50, 60 mil he was quoted for Arsenal a couple of years ago. But man, he would be a stud for them. Something they really need as far as more of a attacking midfielder type.
Do you think they could get him, though? Would be the real question.
I think so. Just the lure of the Premier League and better wages and more playing time for him probably is enough. Maybe a clause of another big team comes in, they let him go.
I think, yeah, he'd be great for Bournemouth because they definitely need someone to help create chances in that team.
Yeah.
So a midfielder I think they should go after. I don't think they'll get him. I don't think he'll leave his current team, but it would be James Ward-Prowse. I think if Southampton end up going down and Bournemouth stay up, they should go for him. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for that Bournemouth team.
I'll be honest with you. Anybody that's probably fifth and below, James Ward-Prowse walks into their team pretty much. He's a stud. So, yeah, he'd be a fantastic signing for Bournemouth. Unfortunately, because he's a lifelong Southampton Academy graduate, I don't think he leaves, but if they get relegated, you might be right.
That Southampton team, they like to sell their best players. So
that is true. They've been known to do that. All right, on to a team that, well, they're kind of unpredictable when it comes to transfer market. You got Brentford. I think they need a center mid. What do you think?
Yeah. I think depth there would help them.
Yeah. Or even just upgrading from what they have. I think
up top they're doing fantastic with Mbomo and Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I think that Amadou Onana from Everton would be a great pickup for them. Whether or not they have the funds to pay for him, quoted about 50 mil for him. I don't know. Whether he wants to leave Everton or not, I don't know. But I think he would be a fantastic pickup for them.
I think a fun one that Brentford should go after would be Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, currently plays at Leicester. He's pretty, how old is he?
24?
24, so he's still pretty young, but man, he's fun to watch. I like him for Leicester. I think Leicester should try to keep on to him, but if Brentford could sneak him away from there, I think that'd be a great signing for him.
Yeah. Another one you mentioned here that I think is probably even more interesting is young Jacob Ramsey, who has lit the Premier League on fire the last couple of years for Aston Villa.
Yeah. I think he would also be a good one there for that Brentford team because he's athletic, he's quick, gets around the field well, and that Brentford team, man, that's how they play.
Exactly. And on top of that, he's only 21. So
yeah, one for the future.
One for the future as well. So you can, spending money on him, you can definitely warrant that. Okay. On to a team that seems to be losing players left and right. Brighton. I think they need a striker, and we got some good ones for you.
Yeah, I was trying to think even who their strikers were. You think of Danny Welbeck still being there?
Yeah. Danny Welbeck. And was that? Is it Evan Ferguson?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'd have to look.
I know he started for them.
Their wingers are fantastic. Their midfield's pretty great. Their defense has been stellar.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic goalie. So I think, that just one missing piece would be a clinical finisher up top.
Yeah, and that critical finisher, too, it would almost guarantee them a European place the way that they're playing right now. So I think a good one to go for, you can get him on loan or probably on the cheap. Been doing it for years. Moussa Dembele from Lyon. This guy seems to have been around for forever, and he's still only 25.
Yeah.
But he scores, on average, 20 to 30 goals a season in Ligue 1.
I think he's having a little bit slower year this year, though.
Yes. Yeah. I think he sits on the bench right now, which you get him on loan. Awesome for Brighton. Lets them save some money for the summer. But, they probably could shoot even higher if they sell like a Caicedo.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the striker I think they should go for would be Briel Mbolo.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his good. When he plays for Switzerland. I think he's fun to watch. He currently plays at Monaco. Also fairly young, 25 years old. And he's doing pretty well this season. 19 appearances. He's got 10 goals and 2 assists for Monaco.
Yeah, and he's a larger framed number 9 and very good.
But he's quick too, and he likes to run at defenders.
Yeah. So he fits right into that Brighton style of play as well. So I think that's a great pick. All right, on to the team that just seems to sign everybody that they want to with no repercussions. Chelsea, they need a striker or a center midfielder.
Definitely a striker.
Yeah. None of their midfield can really stay healthy or perform at this point. So that's why it's on there. But they also have trouble scoring goals. So I understand. I think a Dusan Vlahovic fits their bill perfectly. A big number 9, still young, 22 years old, so fits their transfer policy. Juve's in the crapper right now. They're probably going to have to sell a lot of their players. It just kind of fits.
Well, the good thing with Chelsea is you can name any player under the sun, because they'll go out and buy him.
Yep.
So I went with Victor Osimhen, man. I think if Chelsea got him, they would be scary.
Yeah.
He is banging in goals right now for Napoli. He's got 13 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. And he's still young at 24 years old.
Yeah. I don't know. If I'm Victor Osimhen, it's going to be tough for me to leave a Napoli squad that might be the best team in Europe right now.
Well, when you're Todd Bowley and you got that fat paycheck, you can pay him whatever he wants.
That's true.
Sometimes money talks.
Sometimes it does. We will see. I think that's more of a summer signing.
Potentially, yeah.
God, it would take them to.
He would cost so much. I bet he costs over 100 mil if they go for him.
Easy, yeah. How about midfielders?
So for midfielders, I went with Serge Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio. I think he could be a good signing because he is kind of defensively, but can go offensively as well in the midfield.
Yeah.
So he could kind of help both sides of it.
He reminds me a lot of a slightly older, slightly better Yuri Tielemans, the way that he plays.
Yeah. I would say he's better going forward than Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And probably defensively as well. But, man, I don't know how he still plays for Lazio at this point.
He's not super young, but I would say he's in the prime of his career right now at 27.
Yeah.
And he's got four goals and 8 assists for Lazio this season in 18 appearances.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the guy who has been linked to Chelsea this whole entire window. And they recently have been said to go back in for him in Enzo Fernandez. Todd Bowley wants him. They want to get him. I think at this point, they've spent enough money. They don't care. If they have to pay 130 mil and do a little bit of payments, I think they'll pull it off.
See, I don't know why you wouldn't spend 130 mil then on Victor Osimhen. I'd take Victor Osimhen over Enzo Fernandez.
I don't think that's going to stop them from spending 130 mil on Victor Osimhen as well. I mean, by the end of this, I bet they spend $1 billion by the end of the year.
They're already halfway there.
Yeah, over halfway there. And with all their squad healthy, they can get them to play together. That squad looks scary. So, all right, enough talk about Chelsea and Todd Bowley. Let's go to a little harder one to pick. Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira is doing good things. Needs a little bit of help at the back.
I disagree. I think they need help up top.
Well, then they need help at both ends of the field.
They got good wingers,
I think
they just don't have that clinical finisher, man.
Ben Godfrey from Everton, I think, would be a great pickup for them. Everton's a mess right now. Pretty much a fire sale is what it seems like. Ben Godfrey's been one of their bright lights of the season. I think he'd fit into Patrick Vieira's system perfectly. That's what I think.
So yeah, I think they should go for a striker. Like I said, they got good wingers in Michael Olise and Wilfred Zaha, but they are struggling with Mateta and I think it's Edouard.
Yeah.
As their strikers, they're not putting in goals. So I think they should go for someone who can score goals. I think that someone could be Patrick Bamford from Leeds. He hasn't had the best season this year. He's been hurt. But in the 2021 season, man, in 38 appearances, he has 17 goals and 7 assists. So those are great numbers.
Yeah.
You can keep him healthy.
And you probably get him for pretty cheap right now because he scored 1 goal in 365 days. So,
I mean, he's had 12 appearances, and yeah, he has 1 goal and 1 assist because he's been hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great pickup for them.
I think he's someone who can hold the ball up and then have Zaha and Olise and Abrici Eze kind of play off him.
Yeah, that would be a great pickup. I gotta agree. They probably need both, to be honest. Whether or not Patrick Vieira picks a center back or a striker is yet to be seen. Or if they're going to sign anybody, they might just wait till the summer. We'll see. Okay, speaking of fire sales, Everton. I think they just need to replace the whole squad.
They need someone.
Right now, they'll probably settle for a winger or a striker. I don't know who they can sign at this point because no one wants to go there with how toxic the entire organization is.
Yeah.
I went way out of the box on this one, and maybe going for like Brandon Vasquez from FC Cincinnati, who scored 18 goals last season on loan. Maybe trying to poach someone on the MLS to be like, hey, come try your act in Europe for 6 months and then go back to the MLS in the summer. I had a hard time with this one, I'll be honest. They've been linked to Hakeem Ziyech.
See, I don't think they need a striker either. I think they need someone to create. That's where they're struggling, man. They get to that final third and they just can't create nothing. You know, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin has not been good this season.
No.
Hopefully he can be better and start putting in some goals because he's getting some chances, but you know, he's not getting a lot of chances. So I think they need someone there to create. I think that player, I think it'd be an amazing signing. I don't think they get him, if I'm being honest. I don't think he leaves his current club, but a great signing would be Julian Brandt from Borussia Dortmund.
He would be a game-changing signing.
I think if Everton want to make a statement of staying in the Premier League, I think they need to go for someone big like that.
Yeah. Anything's possible with the Premier League just because of the status of it.
It's definitely becoming a super league with the amount of money they get.
Yeah. Most people will say you just said the S word that no one wants to hear, but you have a point. I mean, just look at Fulham and the players they've been able to attract in the last couple of years. It's been crazy. Speaking of Fulham, they need what I thought at the time was a center midfielder. They just signed one. I think they need more depth, though, and more quality. I think a Matthias Nunez from Wolves would be a great signing for them. He's only 24 years old. He's more attacking-minded.
I don't think they get him, though.
I mean, the promise of European football might be enough to get him.
He's been linked with Liverpool, I know.
Yeah. But so has every midfielder under the sun that's worth a damn. So, who do you think? I'm interested.
Honestly, I think they should go back to Man United for a midfielder and Fred. They got Andreas Pereira from Man United. He's been doing really well for Fulham.
Oh, yeah. Arguably,
so why not go back for Fred, man?
Okay.
I feel like Fred's not a terrible player. He doesn't get much playing time there at Man United. He's more of a rotation bench, coming off the bench type of player.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to see him at a smaller team versus at Man United.
Yeah, I think you have a great point there. I think Fred, I mean, seeing him play for Brazil is a different thing than seeing him play for Manchester United. You give him a little more freedom and more of a box-to-box, more attacking role. He does much better than the defensive midfielder.
Just being defensive, yeah.
Man United plays him. I think that's a great choice, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't even think that far. Yeah. And they probably get him on loan at this point, honestly. All right. See if you can trump me again. Leicester City, I think they need a striker, but honestly, they could use something at the back and at the front.
Yeah, they really could.
I'm going with a guy who's been linked to just about everybody, but no one seems to be able to sign him. Young Canadian striker in the name of Jonathan David. He's 23 years old, keeps banging in the goals for Lille. No one seems to put in a bid for him. I think Leicester City, if they get him, man, that could change that attack wholeheartedly.
I don't know if they need a striker, man. They still got Jamie Vardy. They got Patson Daka there. I agree with you. I think they need more of a center back or maybe a winger. And so I think they should bring back the kid, man, Harry Maguire. Bring him back. Get him on loan.
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag said he's 5th choice right now at United, so he's not getting any playing time anytime soon.
Because they just signed a winger on loan, albeit, in Tete.
Mm-hmm.
But I think another good winger that could fit well there at Leicester would be Alan St. Maximin. I think he could be fun. He's not getting a lot of playing time at Newcastle. I don't know if he's happy about that, but maybe get him on loan as well.
Yeah, I think that's more of a wish list signing. I don't think he leaves Newcastle, but man, if he did and went to Leicester City, he's not a finished product. He's not a great finisher, but on the ball, he might be fun. One of the most exciting players in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle. You also mentioned on here Brian Gill for Tottenham. I'll be honest with you, he's impressed me this season. Last season, I was not. He was not very good. But this season, he's one of Tottenham's best players, in my opinion.
But he's not getting playing time.
Yeah, that's the point. It's surprising.
So I think he could be a good player to go to Leicester as well. Get some playing time.
Yeah, he'd be a great signing. The Brian Gill, that, to me, sounds more like a Unai Emery signing at Aston Villa.
Okay.
But just because he used to play for him. But, yeah, I think you're onto something. Brian Gill will be a fantastic pickup for them, especially if they get him on a permanent transfer because he's only 21. Okay. Next up, we got Leeds United. I'm not going to talk much because I had already put Winston McKennie on here. Called it. It's now official. But you had some other choices which were very interesting. So,
yeah, my first one I think they should have gone for, and I think is honestly a better midfielder than Weston McKennie, would be Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. I think he wants to fight for his place at Chelsea, but once some of those other players start getting healthy, I don't know how much of a look in he's going to get.
He was fantastic for Crystal Palace last year.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. I think another loan move like that could boost his confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, maybe get back to Chelsea. But, yeah, I think he'd be fantastic signing. I think he needs to leave Chelsea. If I'm being honest.
With all the signings, yeah.
And another midfielder, bring back to the Premier League, would be Jorginho Wijnaldum. He's a PSG player on loan at Roma. But I don't know if Leeds could get him. But I just like him, man. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't know what happened to him at PSG where he just didn't play well or couldn't get a look in.
Didn't get any playing time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really liked him when he played for Liverpool. So I think maybe he needs to come back to the Premier League.
So good. I mean, if you're Liverpool, maybe you think about bringing him back to this point. I don't know.
Yeah, that's another good point, yeah.
But he would be a fantastic addition to Leeds, regardless. I mean, if we're saying he'd be a good addition to Liverpool, he'd be a great addition at Leeds. So, all right. Speaking of Liverpool, they need a midfielder, obviously and clearly, because their midfield is awful right now. I think they should go after Yuri Tielemans. 6 months left on his contract. I mean, he's a world-class player. You probably get him for around $20 million. He's going to last for a while, fits into that Liverpool system, and, he's going to replace maybe a Jordan Henderson, I guess. But he's still 7 years younger.
Yeah. I don't know if he wants to go to Liverpool, though. That's the thing. Looking at that project, maybe. Especially when you're getting linked to different clubs. But I know Yuri Tielemans has come out and said he's not going to leave this January. So I don't think they get him.
There you go.
Obviously, they want Jude Bellingham. I don't think they can't get him in January. He's just too expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit cheaper option, I think, would be a player I'd mentioned previously, would be Serge Milinkovic-Savic. I think he would be a good pickup.
Yeah, I don't know how much cheaper he is, though. He's going to be 40,
he'd probably
50.
be around 60.
60.
70.
I think Liverpool probably only has maybe 15 to 20 to spend right now, by the sounds of it.
So honestly, I don't see Liverpool getting any midfielder, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. That's why I was saying, maybe a Wijnaldum might be a good choice on loan.
I think he would be.
He already knows the system, slots right in. He's, again, another aging midfielder, but you get him on loan.
Doesn't cost you anything.
What's going to hurt? I mean, I know they have, what's his name? He used to play at Barcelona and Juve. He's on loan.
Arthur.
That's it. You start with an A. He's coming back, but, I haven't been impressed with him since he left Barcelona anyway, so.
Yeah.
All right, now to the team that spends their money wisely but never runs out of it. Manchester City. With João Cancelo being linked to pretty much everywhere else, I think they need a left back.
I agree with you.
One player they've been linked with, it's been a little bit since they've been linked with him. It's Alex Grimaldo from Benfica. He's only got 6 months left on his contract. They get him for pretty cheap. He is the type of winger that would fit perfectly. He's a little better defensively than Cancelo. I think he'd be a great fit, personally, and would fit right into Pep's plans with low risk, high reward type of signing.
Yeah, I think he would be a great signing for him, if I'm being honest with you. Especially with their kind of transfer business lately of not necessarily overspending on players.
Yeah.
But if they do want to overspend on a player, I got just a left back for him, and Theo Hernandez. Left back for AC Milan, the French international. He's only 25 years old, so he's still pretty young. And we know how good he is going forward.
Yeah.
Showed it for France at the World Cup, and so, yeah.
A great signing for them. I don't know if he wants to leave AC Milan.
The way they're playing, maybe.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Maybe. But, yeah, he'd be a great signing. It's going to take a lot to sign him, but, again, money's no problem for Manchester City. Regardless, they need a left back. Either one of those would be great signing for them. I think Theo Hernandez is a little bit better, honestly. He's one of the best left backs in the world, right behind his brother. Either one, great signing. Whether or not they actually sign anyone, I don't know.
I don't think they will. It might be in the summer, but not now.
Yeah. Unless they sell somebody, then I think they go. But with Cancelo being linked to AC Milan, why not just do a straight swap deal?
There you go.
There you go. All right. Team that perennially always needs a striker. Manchester United. They need a striker. Surprise, surprise.
But they got Wout Weghorst.
Yeah. They need somebody different. Wout Weghorst.
They need someone better.
Yeah. They need someone who's going to be more consistent with more longevity.
And someone better.
However, they seem to not really have a lot of money to spend. If they had the money to spend, I'd say Goncalo Ramos, which we had said prior, after the World Cup, would be a great signing for them. I still think he would be. However, I don't think they have the money to sign him because I don't think Benfica is going to let him go for cheap at all. That one probably is upwards of 80 million. Another good one is Marcus Thuram for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's got 6 months left on his contract, said to only cost 10 million. They can convince him of the project. He can play on the wing or at striker. Gives you a little extra depth at striker and for Marcus Rashford. He's a stud. I think he would fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good signing. You won't get any argument for me. Obviously, the player I think they should go for, but they won't in January, would be Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I don't know why they... It's just a match made in heaven, man. But I think if they do go for someone, it'd be that Juve striker, Vlahovic.
Yeah.
Dusan Vlahovic. I think he would be the striker they go for.
Yeah. For me, it's tough. For a Chelsea squad, I think he would fit. He's got a little bit of an attitude, apparently.
There you go. Ten Hag can bust that right out.
Yeah, Chelsea seem to sign players that have attitude, so I think he'd fit in perfectly. Him and Aubameyang go hang out. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if Ten Hag can beat the attitude out of him, he'd be a great signing for Manchester United. I know he's regretting not signing for Arsenal last season, but I mean, what better substitute than Manchester United? All right. Next up, the team that's on the up and up, Newcastle United. I think they need a center midfielder. You think they need a winger. They just signed Anthony Gordon. You still think they need a winger?
I think it would help for depth. And, maybe at this point, maybe a striker. I know Alexander Isaac's been hurt quite a bit. They got Callum Wilson, so maybe not a striker, actually. But, I mean, in midfield, you got Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Willock. So I don't know, they've all been performing well. It's hard to pick someone a position on that team that hasn't performed well.
I mean, you could probably get an upgrade from Joelinton. Probably.
Yeah. Maybe back up for Almiron.
Yeah, I mean, it would be more of
it's going to be
some more depth or more options as far as formation goes. Because if you can move Willock further forward and play with two more defensive midfielders, then that gives you more options compared to playing, three in the midfield as a diamond. I went with Sandro Tonali from AC Milan. 24 years old. He's won some trophies. He is a defensive midfield powerhouse. Man, I love watching him play. I think he'd be a great fit for Newcastle. Give Bruno Guimaraes a little bit more freedom because when he's on the ball, Newcastle are fantastic. You can push him a little bit further up the field. Newcastle become a whole different team, in my opinion.
See, I went with a winger. I went with Hakeem Ziyech. I think he'd be a fun one for Newcastle. Like you said, maybe upgrade from Joelinton. He can fight Miguel Almiron for that spot. So I think he'd be a fun one for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably get him on loan for the rest of the season because he's not getting any playing time at Chelsea, especially with their new signings.
Yeah,
Mudryk
that's what I was thinking. I mean, honestly, Chelsea, a lot of those players I think need to either go out on loan or to get sold because Chelsea's going to have to sell some players to balance those books.
Oh, yeah. And at this point in the summer, I think it's going to be a fire sale. I mean, I know a couple players are leaving on freeze because their contracts are up, but that squad's going to need a lot of selling. So why not start now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting into the harder ones. Going towards the bottom of the table, Nottingham Forest. I thought they need a goalkeeper because Dean Henderson just picked up an injury. And I went with a much forgot about stellar goalkeeper who has won everything under the sun in Keylor Navas from PSG.
Yeah, he's not a bad signing. He's playing back up to Donnarumma right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they could get him, that'd be great. I don't know if they can. I don't know how Keylor Navas would feel about going to Nottingham Forest. But, I don't know. It's tough. I think they don't need a goalie. I think they should try to get one maybe in the summer. I would say try to keep Dean Henderson because he's on loan there for Man United. Try to keep him on a permanent.
Yeah.
I think that would be their best option.
Yeah, and I think the only way that
spent a lot of money, brought in a lot of new players.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the most signings, surprisingly, after all that Chelsea signed.
Yeah.
I think the only way they keep Dean Henderson is if they stay up. I mean, it's looking more and more likely.
Yeah.
But getting maybe, Keylor Navas or, any top-rate goalie on loan for the rest of the season. I mean, I think Navas just wants to play at this point. You can cover his wages. I don't think he cares. But, I mean, there's a lot of good goalies out there.
Who is their backup? I think is it Wayne Hennessy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I can't remember who their backup is, but I remember seeing it. It's not a terrible backup, so I would say stick with them.
Yeah, depending on how long Dean Henderson is out. I mean, if it's a couple months, you definitely need another goalie. There's still plenty of time to get a loan in. So we'll see what the end of the transfer window holds. They seem to be signing players left and right, so time will tell. Okay. Southampton, bottom of the table. I think they need a striker. What do you think?
Yeah, they need someone to score goals. Shea Adams is not the answer.
No. I went with a player who has really impressed at World Cups, but kind of gets forgot about, and Andre Kramaric from Hoffenheim. I'm surprised no one's really picked him up from Hoffenheim at this point. But I think he'd be a great signing. He's 31, so give him one last payday. I think he signs no problem.
I don't know. That would be an interesting one. I feel like that could be a hit or bust.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Southampton, you got to try something at this point to stay up. Everton's in a free fall, so you got a chance. Might as well do it
I
now
went with
capitalize.
kind of a couple different strikers there. I think their wish list would be Musa Dembele. If they could get him, I think that would be a steal and fantastic for them. It'd be tough, but I think a more realistic option could also be Patrick Bamford, someone who's Premier League proven. Again, previous season had a fantastic season and could help keep them up.
Yeah, I mean, before he signed for West Ham from Aston Villa, I probably would have said a return of Danny Ings.
Yeah,
would have been best, but it's too late now. Yeah, I don't see anybody from the Premier League going on loan there, so I mean Bamford might be a good choice. But yeah, anybody from outside of England who hasn't played in the Premier League probably would be a good choice. Okay. To a team who has surprised us and signed 2 players in this last week, but doesn't usually sign players in a January transfer window. Tottenham, I know they need a new goalie. Hugo Lloris, I think, is done there. But they also need an attacking midfielder because they still haven't replaced Christian Eriksen since he was at the club. Player that's been linked to them who recently turned down a move to Bournemouth is Nicolo Zaniolo from Roma. He's on the transfer list. It's only $30 million. Why
he
not?
played today though, or he played against Napoli when Roma played Napoli.
He did. I mean, he's one of the better players for Roma, but they've already stated that they want him gone before the end of the transfer window. It just fits for me.
I don't know though. I don't think then he would have played against Napoli on the 29th.
I'm just going with what Jose Mourinho has said.
But I know Jose, if a player wants to leave, he won't play him.
Yep. So, I mean, time will tell. He rejected a contract from Bournemouth. He's waiting for AC Milan, apparently, or Tottenham to come in and sign him.
I think they need a goalie.
Contract's up in the summer, so he's going to leave regardless.
I think they need a goalie. And who better than one of the stellar performers at the World Cup in Dominik Livakovic. 28 years old, so he's not super young, but he's a goalie, so you'll get a good 4 or 5 years out of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, coming from Dinamo Zagreb, I think personally that might be a good deal for them. Kind of goes out of the realm of what they tend to like to go for, which is younger, up-and-coming talent.
But with goalies,
if you want someone who's going to
35.
come in and replace Hugo Lloris right now, I don't know if there's a better signing. Especially for the price point you probably get him at.
Yeah, if you want to go for a little bit younger goalie, I was thinking maybe the Leeds United goalie, Ilan Meslier. He's only 22.
Yeah, he'd be good. But like you said previously, I mean, David Raya, I don't think he leaves Brentford right now.
No.
Robert Sanchez, I don't think he leaves Brighton right now. But they would both be fantastic pickups, especially come the summer. All right. West Ham United, fresh off their win against Everton, trying to climb their way out of the relegation zone. Again, I think they need a center back. How about you?
You know, I did agree with you until I remembered about Ogbonna and Kurt Zuma coming back. I mean, those are going to feel like 2 new signings for them, and it's 2 center backs.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, I think maybe they need a midfielder.
Okay. Any ideas? Maybe Fred?
And again, I hate going back to Chelsea, but do you remember when Jesse Lingard went to West Ham and he flew there?
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe a Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount.
Yeah,
I don't think Mason Mount would want to go to West Ham.
I mean, his best friend is Declan Rice, Mason Mount. I mean, that's all you need is Agent Declan right there.
But man, I think they could be really good at West Ham, kind of like how Jesse Lingard was.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get Jesse Lingard and try to bring him back. Probably not, but
they probably could at this point. He's not doing great.
They could, but I don't think they should.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I had a center back for them as well. But I also saw that, Zuma was coming back and getting 2 center backs in a transfer window back from injury is like having a new signing.
Yeah.
So I think you might be onto something with Conor Gallagher or Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount probably is the more likely of the 2 to leave because Gallagher's been playing more. Probably could get Mason Mount on loan to get his wages off the books.
His contract's also up here at the end of the summer.
Well, there you go. You can get him for decently cheap. Sign him before Liverpool wants him. That would be a great signing for West Ham. So, all right. Last on the list, Wolverhampton Wanderers. They need a striker.
Yeah, they do.
You're probably going to say someone Portuguese because that's who they tend to go for.
You only know that, yeah. You already know that.
I already know that. But if I didn't, I still would have said it. I went with 2 players that kind of fly under the radar. Luis Enrique for Real Betis. He's 20 years old. He's been linked with Wolves. He's been on fire this season. Kind of came out of nowhere. He's going to cost them a pretty penny, but at this point, if you're Wolves, pretty penny to stay up. I'd take it. Or a Tim Weah from Lille. He gives them a little bit extra, something they don't have. And I would love to see Tim Weah right now in the Premier League.
I would say Tim Weah is any more of a winger, though.
Also plays striker, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, so those are 2 good ones. I think, obviously, who would be at the top of their wish list for Wolves would be Goncalo Ramos, the Portuguese forward who plays at Benfica, but I think he's too expensive, and Wolves get priced out of that.
Yeah.
So maybe a Luka Jovic.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, got the big money move to Real Madrid from, I think it was Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And he's now at Fiorentina, and he hasn't been playing fantastic, don't get me wrong. He's 17 appearances, he's got 3 goals. But big name signing. I'd be curious to see how he would do in the Premier League.
Yeah. I would be fascinated with how he does in the Premier League. I think that's not a bad way to go. I think
he'd either be a hit or a massive disappointment.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be any between.
But at this point, if you're Wolves, if he's a massive disappointment, cool. You bench him. No big deal. But you do need someone to kind of change things up a little bit going forward. So you're right. Goncalo Ramos would probably be the top of their wish list again. Unless they make it into the European places, I don't think that they can afford him. But who knows? I've seen them spend a lot of money. They took them not even 3 days to buy Matthias Cunha on loan.
Yeah, maybe he's their signing that they need.
Both are great options. Any one of these 4 probably makes them better. But
yeah.
Yeah. Time will tell with them. I don't think they sign anybody personally, but we'll see. But yeah, that's all 20 teams, and that's all that I got for today.
Yeah, that brings us to today's episode. We appreciate you guys listening. Make sure to check us out on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, at Brews and Banter FC. Join our Facebook group, get in on the conversation. Check us out on YouTube, obviously available on all podcast platforms. And yeah, make sure you check out our Redbubble, get the merch, help us keep doing what we're doing. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. And as always, cheers.